Hi, this is Chrissy with Intuitive Parent Evolution, and I support parents with magical, unique kids, helping them to honor their gifts, as well as to be here in this world that isn't always allowing for those of us who are different. One of the ways that I support parents is actually through using astrology and birth charts and the current transits of this moment, and how that can be a reflection of what your child is going through. One of the ways I want to share what that can look like, a real live parenting example, is using my own experiences and my own children and their charts, and how the two really kind of come together and have been a way for me to move through those challenging moments with more grace and more ease than I would have if I didn't know this information. So if you don't know what a birth chart is, please go to the link below. You're going to see that there. And I'm going to talk again about a moment that Kate really had back in October of 2021. I spoke of her online mean girl experience that she had. If you want to know more about what that looked like, you can go ahead and check that out. This is going to be like a part 2 of that, because I didn't want to overwhelm you all with like how big this astrology moment was for her. So if you've never seen a birth chart before, this is what one looks like. This is Kate. These are her planets in the middle, and these are transiting planets on the outside. Now, you don't need to know too much about that in the details. I just want to give you an idea of what this can look like for you and your kids if you've never seen one before. Now, last video, I really spoke in some detail about this mean girl experience Kate had playing Roblox, okay? And that feeling that came up so deeply, it was like cutting to her soul, because her soul remembers, because she was having these lived previous experiences that she was experiencing emotionally through this trigger of this other girl saying, you're really mean, you're not pretty, like really the kind of stuff that really takes a 9-year-old out at their knees. That kind of stuff. So we had already been having a very emotional time with Kate, okay? And then we had another really big moment that came up. And the second one was very triggering of her self-critical nature. Kate, if you don't know, is actually a late talker. She didn't start talking until she was 4, and it was very curious for me to go in and kind of dive into her birth chart and where that could be showing and coming up. And I'm really laughing because she has so much Gemini in her chart. She's got such a unique presence and way of speaking. Like, if I had known how prominent that feature was, I probably wouldn't have been as worried about her not talking, because now she doesn't stop talking. And it would have just been this lovely kind of reassurance, like another, oh wait, no, it'll be okay. It really will. You don't need to go into all those fears, because everything in this child's chart is like saying she's going to talk and then not stop talking, which is completely true. But Kate is very self-critical, okay? Very perfectionist, so much so that it stops her in her tracks, okay? And this is one of the reasons I feel for her not talking right away, was this need for perfection, this almost needing to be safe before she could go in and take that leap with words. I've seen this repeatedly when it comes to learning to read and math, even playing board games. I've seen this. So it's not just about her talking, it's just kind of who she is. Now, for Kate, she had a really big transit, another one right down here. When you hear about children being clingy, for example, or really emotional, one of the things that I look to is the 4th house, or Cancer as well, because that's that emotional need, that need for security, emotional safety. That's what Cancer and the 4th house is all about. And here I was, this is like day 2, major emotions from Kate. I see her sitting on the couch, just silently crying, and I knew she was deeply upset. And I was also unbelievably exhausted. I had just finished cooking dinner. If you've seen some of my other videos where I've shared about Eric and his energy during these months, like, I really had nothing left to give. And one of the tools that that I teach parents and work with parents in the programs that I have is this reconditioning of ourselves, okay? It's about reprogramming ourselves and our reactions and developing this awareness of those moments instead of going right to the default, which has been our conditioning and our upbringing and our society expectations. We instead go over here. And in this case, I was really tired. My initial reaction seeing her like that was, I don't want to deal with it. I'm just going to let her deal with it. Because that has been my childhood, my upbringing. So it's like I default back to that programming, especially when I'm really tired like I was. And yet, this work that I'm still doing on myself, because I'm still human and I'm learning all the time, but what I do when I support parents is like developing this awareness and that pause, that sacred pause where I stopped and I looked at her and I was just like, okay. And I went and I sat down beside her. And she just started letting it out, really letting all this emotion out. I don't even remember what was the trigger in this moment for her, but it was really deep. And she needed me in that moment to just sit with her, And I also want to say as well that it wasn't just me that stepped up, okay, in that moment. I went and I sat down with Kate. She's so emotional that Eric starts reacting to it. Now, Eric, he is so sensitive that for him, it's like this complete bleed through of emotions and sensitivities. It's really, really hard for him when someone that he loves and is deeply connected to has this kind of emotional reaction, this emotional experience. And that has been true since he is a baby. So here I was sitting with Kate trying to help her. Eric starts reacting. And Sean is there too. And instead of ignoring us, he gets up from where he was doing work, because he's working from home right now, and he sits on the floor to support Eric. So here we are as this family is really starting to hold space, this emotional safe space, and honoring of that. And for Kate, this was really important for her. So down here in Kate's 4th house, I mentioned 4th house in Cancer is all about that emotional need, emotional security. And she's got Mars and the Sun transiting this right here, transiting her Saturn and her Mars. So for Kate, if I had chosen in that moment to walk away, to see her crying and just be, I'm too tired, I can't do this, I've got nothing left to give. That's how bottom of the barrel I was in that moment. I would have really caused, without knowing, I would have caused a lot more harm and a lot more feeling of being abandoned. And that's what this particular signature has been like for her, of being abandoned. And that would have really kind of imprinted that more deeply onto her soul's experience if I had walked away. If I hadn't sat there and held that emotional space, because again, that fourth house is all about emotional safety and security. And I didn't even know this at the time, that this particular transit was happening. I didn't know it until I kind of went back and looked later as like a detective of what was going on. And not only that, again, I mentioned last video, she's got Mercury transiting right here, which is opposite to Chiron, okay? Chiron is the wound. So in a real Chiron transit way, this really brought this emotional experience up for her in a way that was really painful and very hard for her to sit with, certainly by herself. And yet, this is how the healing happens. The healing is this ripple effect of me sitting down beside Kate to support her, Eric getting upset, so Sean goes and he sits down. And as we're doing this as parents, we're also healing our own inner children for all those times when we emotionally needed support and didn't have it. So it's this beautiful ripple effect that happens, and this deprogramming, this deconditioning that we need to go through as adults. Even if we're not parents, we need this. We need to become more full human beings, you know, like, and not having these little parts of ourselves that kind of froze at these different ages. And that's something that I really, I do a lot of work with for myself and other parents that I support. Now, if any of this sounds interesting to you, if you would like your birth chart reading read, your child's, if you were a child or having like a really hard moment like Kate was, and you want a deeper understanding of how to navigate that, please reach out to me. I do offer those. I also offer coaching programs for just real, like, longer periods of time of support to help you make these shifts. Because going into the muck and doing all this reprogramming and doing all this unconscious heavy lifting that we do, it takes time. And it's really great to have someone beside you, like holding your hand, being a guiding light as you do this transformational work for yourself. So if you're interested and you want to invest in yourself, you want to invest in who you are as a parent for your children, please send me a message. So please like and subscribe. Check out the other videos that I'm offering, especially if you want to see how astrology can really work for you and your kids. And I also have a Facebook group, Intuitive Parent Evolution. So again, I look forward to hearing from you. Please reach out and take care of yourself. And when you have those moments and you catch yourself when you see your child in real big emotions, pause, find your center, and see if you can't just go and sit there and hold that space with them. Because it's when we show up in that way, that is how we heal. That is how we support our children in thriving to be exactly who they were meant to be. Thank you so much. I'll chat with you soon.